you everyone for coming. Can you hear me? Yeah? My name is Raed, Jarrar. I'm the Iraq consultant with the American Friends Service Committee. And we're just starting our tour. This is the first event. So you will hear us more fresh, I guess, than the rest of the events. You should see us after 10 events when we repeat the same spiel. Both me and Patty start asking people, did we tell you that story? It's like, yeah, you told it twice already. I guess what usually I try to talk about is the major difference between what is being said about Iraq in the US. What's the US dominant narrative on what's happening in Iraq versus what's the narrative from the Iraqi perspective. There are two voices that we never hear in the mainstream media or in the Congress. The voice of the Iraqi public and the voice of the war veterans. We just hear the administration or the Congress or whomever in the US government talks about the Iraqi people or the Iraq veterans, the war veterans, when they want to justify the war. That's the only time where we hear talking about them. They say, if you want to support the troops, support the war. They say, if you want to support the Iraqis, support the occupation. But we never hear from Iraqis or war veterans speaking on TVs. Now, the polls that come from Iraq always indicate that the percentage of Iraqis and Iraq war veterans, Americans, who are against the war and who want to end the occupation is around the same. It's around 70%. And it's amazing that we never hear from them, people on the ground. Why are they against the war? If it's that good, if it's that beneficial for everyone, how come 70% of Americans and Iraqis in Iraq are against it? So to start speaking about the narratives, I'm sure that all of us are familiar with what the US mainstream media have been saying. There are different justifications, as Tyler was talking about. There are different justifications on why this occupation should continue or why the war should happen. The justification usually given to the more right-wing constituency is that the war is, good for our security. We have to kill the bad, crazy Muslims over there because then they will attack us on our soil. And then for the more, left constituency, usually the excuse given is that we have to continue the war because if we pulled out the troops, the sky will fall and Sunnis and Shiites will kill each other. So it's good for them. It's humanitarian to continue the occupation. Now, unfortunately, many Americans believe these things, and I don't blame them. Sometimes I believe them when I open the TV. Because there is a huge gap between this and what the reality on the ground is. What Iraqis say is that what's happening in Iraq is not a civil war between Sunnis and Shiites based on ancient hatred. No, what's happening is a foreign occupation that is destroying the country. And on the side of that foreign occupation, there are some Iraqis who are fighting against other Iraqis, but not because of sectarian or religious reasons. What does that mean? What Fox News and CNN have been telling us for years is that Iraqis are attacking each other because Sunnis hate Shiites say bad things about the mainstream media? Bring it back, and I will say good things. Okay? Because they say that the Sunnis and Shiites have this ancient hatred that's putting them against each other, right? Now, Iraqis say, no, the reason what's happening is that the foreign occupation is supporting a minority of Sunnis and Shiites against the majority of Sunnis and Shiites. Now, to put this in a US context, just to, for the sake of drawing a similarity, imagine what if an Iraqi came now or 200 years ago and said, the American Civil War is happening between the Catholics and the Protestants, or it's happening between the blacks and the whites. People will tell him, you don't know what you're talking about, because this is not a racial war that was happening. It was more political and economic and moral or whatever. Now, I feel the same when people say that the war is happening in Iraq between the Sunnis and the Shiites. What does the Sunnis mean? Who are the Sunnis? Al-Qaeda? Or the vice president? Or the armed resistance? Who are the Shiites? The Sadr or Nur al-Maliki? What does it mean to say that? I mean, can we talk about the US and say the whites, all white people are against abortion or for abortion? It doesn't work that way, right? It's not racial. And the same way the situation is in Iraq. There are some Sunnis and some Shiites who are fighting against other Sunnis and other Shiites because of political and economic reasons. One very good example is what happened in Basra a couple of weeks ago. If it was really a sectarian war, that Iraqis were killing each other because of their sectarian or religious belief, why would some Shiites attack other Shiites, right? They should unite their forces and go kill the Sunnis. Why would they attack each other? Why did we face all of the battles in the streets between Al-Qaeda and the Iraqi Islamic Army, which is one armed resistance group, and both of them are Sunnis? Why are the seculars like Al-Chalabi, you know Al-Chalabi, right? Ahmed Al-Chalabi, fighting against other seculars like Al-Mutlaq's forces? Why? Because it's not a sectarian or religious war, it's political and economic. Now, the two major groups from an Iraqi perspective that are colliding are a minority of Sunnis and Shiites and Kurds and others who are separatists. They want to partition the country into Kurdistan and Sunnistan and Shiistan, very similar to what the South wanted to do in the American Civil War. They wanted to secede. On the other side, there are Sunnis and Shiites and seculars and Christians who are nationalists, who want to keep Iraq united and keep Baghdad as a central government. The same way that the Union wanted to keep the US united.